So first of all, Joel meet Foster, Foster meet Joel.
Hey, Joel, I sent you a LinkedIn, sir.
Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah, I'll get that accepted right as soon as we're done here.
Good
Yeah,
to meet you. I like the color of your shirt. Hook 'em horns.
That's
Hook 'em
right.
horns.
It's
Hook 'em
over here
horns.
somewhere.
So Joel, I introduced you. You work with Titan now and all this, but and you've had a really interesting career. But I want to start at one point. You were working in the debt settlement industry, and some interesting things happened that led to a career pivot. So let's start with that. Let's start with what happened there and what led you to a career pivot.
Yeah, well, not. I don't want to dwell on what happened too much.
Yeah.
Basically, there were some banking industry changes and some government regulations that kind of rendered our industry obsolete
Right.
almost overnight. So, unfortunately, rendered my career obsolete at the same time. Um, but what I found was only parts of it, because the lessons that I was able to learn there, and what I mean by that is the basic philosophy that you are providing someone with the service, you are providing a customer or consumer with the service, and if you have that in the front of your mind at all times, or at least as much as possible, then that is a very transferable skill.
Right.
And I transferred about as far away as you could get. I went from credit card resolutions to the transportation and moving industry.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I went to work for some of the best as two men in a truck. Anybody that knows about moving, or if you've ever moved
Yeah.
before,
Yeah. You've
yeah,
seen them around town, right, Foster?
Oh, yeah.
there's a reason. I mean, they're not the cheapest, but they're the most around because they have a commitment to doing things the right way.
Right.
And they weren't afraid to bring me in.
That's
Actually,
good to hear.
they were excited to bring me in. Even though I didn't have experience, they said they wanted that.
So
Mhm.
tell us what specifically about you and about your presentation of yourself to them led them to that decision.
Actually, some of that's just going to come down to luck and serendipity. They were they were actually looking for people outside the industry to bring in
Uh-huh.
some fresh perspectives, and I
Oh,
think that's one of the things that actually made them successful in the Dallas area, was that
That idea.
willingness, yeah, that curiosity, or that willingness, that drive to bring in new ideas and new people from other industries.
Right.
Um, so as much as I wanted to learn something new and do something I had never done before, they wanted just the opposite, and it worked out beautifully for everyone, I think.
It did, because I like I told everybody, I've known you for years and years and years. So it worked out very successfully, and you've maintained those relationships and still talk to
uh-huh.
them. But then you did something real interesting. So then you become successful and you work around the whole district with two men in a truck, and then you get a phone call, and you're
Uh,
asked to make another career pivot.
yeah. So we almost kind of went back. Instead of credit cards this time, it was student loan debt. But a lot of those, a lot of the credit card skills were still applicable.
Right.
But I was able to come in with some new perspective. I learned a lot from the moving and transportation industry. A different type of service, a different type of sense of urgency that came from that. Labor guys they do things a different way, and it
Yeah.
doesn't make necessarily one thing right and one thing wrong, but you can take lessons from
Mhm.
anywhere as
Yes.
long as
Right.
you're paying attention.
Right.
Um, yeah, so I was able to bring some of that over, some of those other lessons, and really make an impact right away. And that company grew like wildfire, because we
Yeah.
had
Did.
a small team, but a very great team.
Hmm.
Not afraid to put on different hats, not afraid to put in the hours, especially up front.
So when
Uh,
you interviewed, I want to pause there because you had a very unique, and I know because I was doing the staffing for that company. So I would send you people, and then you
mhm.
interviewed them and hired them. So how did you choose those people? How did you, because they didn't come from your industry. There was basically nobody with industry experience, right? So how did you find the right characteristics and and decide, hey, this is the person I want to give a shot to?
Great questions.
Well, with the tiny industry, you're not going to find somebody within the industry.
Right.
But I had kind of learned a lesson from Two Men in a Truck that it's okay to bring people in from a very different industry that have a very different experience than you, and they are going to bring something to the table that you've never seen before. And if you're paying attention, you will learn from them. No matter if they are a fellow employee, if they're a manager, if they're an employee below you and you're the manager, you can still learn from them, and you should be learning from them.
100%. Yes, 100%. And I think too, one of the things that Foster and I have been seeing a lot of is that people are afraid to pivot right now, right? So, and you've hired people that had to pivot because there was no other choice, and you've been the one pivoting. So, how did you overcome that fear? Let's start with that. How did you overcome that fear that led you to be able to pivot several times very successfully?
Oh boy. I don't know that I have that much fear about it. But I think
yeah.
Because why not? No, wait, let's address that. Why not?
Well, I kind of have a confidence that I'm going to be able to learn it. But part of that probably comes from when I'm at AFC, or when I'm at Two Men in a Truck, or Citibank, or wherever I've been here with Titan. I'm going to put on as many hats as I possibly can. I want to expand. I want to know the jobs on either side of me. I want to know the one above me. I want to know the one below me.
Right.
So because of all that, I think that just kind of lends itself to, if you're going to completely change companies, change cities, change industries, which I've done. I've done all those things in the last 10 years. It doesn't bother me, because that's basically what I'm doing every day. When I show up 9 to 5, I'm doing the same thing anyway.
Can I meddle a little bit, since I'm in the middle of both of you guys? I'm going to try to build a bridge for Catherine. So right. Joel, just now, I've been a recruiter for a long time, and my dad was a pastor, so I think I'm fairly good judge of character here. Listen, when I'm listening to Joel right now, Joel sounds very believable. He doesn't sound like he's a person that's going to try to pull some answer out of the sky that he doesn't have any experience with. That's number one. Right. But I bet that Joel is a relational person, and I bet that the people that he talked to when he was thinking about taking this job I never thought about before, those people made him feel as though, hey, maybe we make you feel comfortable in that we're listening to you, Joel, and we're liking. When you talk to people, come on now, y'all know whether you get along with people or not. And it means a lot, and it probably helped Joel 100%. Moving forward, making the decision whether he wanted to, as we say in Texas, fool with Two Men in the Truck.
That's right.
Right. And that's so true.
That's my whole life, and that's what I do here in Dallas. So yeah.
You filled in a lot of blanks, and you're 100% right. Whether I've been, I've been here recruiting for a while. I've been a hiring manager. I've been interviewed for jobs before. A lot of what I did with Two Men in a Truck was to find drivers and movers, because that's always a challenge in the industry. I'm looking for a personality. I can teach you the job, or if I'm on the other end, I can learn the job if you can teach it. And I think that's actually true with a lot of industries. If you're a manager, if you're a hiring manager, your job backwards and forwards. You probably started on the same level that your employees are on right now. And you know that job, and you can probably teach it to most people. So really, if I have advice for hiring managers, is, glance at the resume, but interview the human being. Get to know them.
100%.
If
yes.
Trevor's watching, Trevor, if you're watching, grab those mics that we got in the studio and drop those mics. Whenever
drop that mic.
Whenever we hear those things, we drop that mic, baby.
Drop the mic.
That's
they
right.
literally physically drop a mic. It is a true thing. And we have a question.
Awesome. Yeah.
We have a question for you guys, and I'm gonna let the gentleman handle this one. What do you feel is the most effective strategy to change locations effectively?
If you're talking about different cities, I might be the last person to ask. My last move was a mess. We had to do it like 4 times.
I think they
Uh,
mean like if you're looking for a job in another area, how you find that and how you make those connections, I think is kind of where they're going with that.
You just
okay.
said it, Catherine, making those connections. I
Making
am a
those connections.
networker, guys. I created the Career Search Network. So if I have an opportunity, and I have had an opportunity before I had to turn down a job in Phoenix, and I didn't turn it down, Patty Bashy, because it was hot. I, some of the considerations that I made were, okay, what does my industry look like in this area? Because of the dynamics that we have in corporate America today, what if this job doesn't work out? What am I looking like? Do I have another opportunity around where I have established my new living quarters? Is there an opportunity there that I may find another opportunity to stay there, to move forward in the same industry? Can I pivot to another industry? Is there family, friends? All of those things are considerations. And Amber, I hope that I'm hitting a chord with you, but I guarantee you Joel's going to be able to tell us something about that as well.
I kind of go in with the attitude that it's going to work. I guess I'm kind of picking up where you might have already found something, or you have an area where you want to go. Maybe you have interviews set up already. Once you get there, I kind of have a burn the ships attitude. Once you land, you get rid of the ships. That way, you do not have a way to go back. You don't need it because this is going to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of considerations outside of the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of the job. There's a lot of considerations to take if you're going to reload. So Catherine wants to get me out to Port St. Lucie, Florida. I'm already smiling because I'm thinking of beach, but there's a lot
Beaches.
more personal considerations that each and
Yes.
every one of us have to take. Joel, Foster, and Catherine may not be able to tell you what it is that is important to you, but you know what that is.
Right. And guys, just network in the area. Reach out to
Yeah.
people, get to know people, reach out to recruiters, connect to us, connect to Joel. He's great. He'll respond super fast. He does just like Foster and I. And he made one final very interesting career pivot when I finally, after so long of trying to convince him, got him to join Titan. And he's really helped
Pretty
take us to the
persuasive.
next. I am. I'm very tenacious. We've discussed this, and I'm very determined. That's something Trevor and I
You
share.
and
He was on the
Trevor,
show earlier.
absolutely.
Yeah, he was on the show earlier. Very, very focused. And when I get something in
Very.
my mind, that's how it goes. But you need, and we talked about this earlier too. Finding people that complement. And when you're looking for a job, or when you're looking for people to hire, either direction, make sure that you complement each other, right? Make sure the company
Right.
complements your goals so that you complement their goals. Discuss goals, discuss objectives, and make sure that you and the manager meet your manager. Don't ever take a job without meeting your manager. I've talked to people that have done that. It never goes well. Meet the
Ooh,
manager, make sure that you jive, right? That's
absolutely.
so
What does that
crucial.
job
Oh
look
yeah.
like? Yeah. What does the job look like? Are you really excited about that? Who are you going to work with? Are you going to work with Catherine
Yep.
McCord? You know how she is.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's crazy. She won't
Well,
ever let things go.
no, that's a good point. You're going to be spending a lot of time with these people. Some people forget that, but you actually spend more waking hours with these people than you do your own family.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good idea, understatement, to meet them.
Yes. It is. And it's so important. And I think the other thing too, try to meet coworkers. Try to network with potential coworkers. Get on LinkedIn, get on different sites like that, and find out who the coworkers are and connect to them. And try to
Oh,
get their
yeah.
perspectives and really talk to them. And
Oh,
or
that's
if you
good.
get a chance to interview with them, say, hey, can I hop on a call with a couple of the team members? Ask.
Yeah.
Companies will set that kind of stuff up for you, especially
Yes.
if you're later in the interview process. Maybe not up front, but they'll definitely be willing to do that kind of stuff later. Joel,
One of
there's one more question I wanted to ask you about real quick because it's something you and I deal with a lot, and that's getting through the
Okay.
offer letter phase. And Foster, I know you're going to have some opinions on the offer letter phase too.
I'll be quiet.
Any recruiter watching is going to have some opinions on this.
Oh
Good
yes.
point, Joel.
So one thing that I wanted to stress to people out there is ask your questions before you get to the offer letter stage. Because Joel, what happens if you don't?
I mean, everything grinds to a halt. Everybody's frustrated. That's when
Yeah.
things start to fall through,
You
Relationship.
can lose the opportunity.
and you can lose the opportunity.
Mhm.
If you're the hiring company, you can lose a good candidate. I mean, because that works both ways, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, iron these things out. Know what's important to you. Write it down if you have to,
Mhm.
and communicate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Time is
Before the
money.
offer letter
Yeah,
stage.
and
Yes.
that goes for companies and candidates. That goes for everybody.
That's true.
Time
Yeah,
is
that is
money.
both sided.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to. A lot of times we overlook the fact. Now, Catherine and I being recruiters, we talk about this all the time. But time is money, and it is costly to hire a Joel. If I don't have a Joel, it's going to cost me some money to hire Joel, and it's going to cost me some money to keep Joel.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
sir.
It's so true. It's so very true. And we're getting a lot of compliments in the comments. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate the comments. And thank you, Joel, for coming on.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to say goodbye now to keep
All
the
right.
time rolling. But thank you so very much. We really appreciate you being on
Thanks,
today.
Joel.
My pleasure. You guys have a great rest of your show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
All right. And by the way, we did have a comment that specifically said that they did not meet their manager before getting hired, and that didn't go well. So see,
Uh-oh.
yeah, you've gotta know your team. You've gotta know who you're gonna be working for. And again, do look for people that have attitudes of service. That's the main
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, attitudes of